Reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Yes, that's Donald Trump today and yesterday. Things have changed dramatically over the war in Iran. We'll have more about that when we come back in mere moments.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
We need political change. But we also need to resolve to resist.
Yes, please subscribe. Please subscribe. We need subscribers, and resubscribe if you've been taken off unintentionally. And please resubscribe if you were just a little PO'd at me this week over this war issue. Thank you for your support, and share this broadcast, please, with your friends and family. It is so much appreciated. So what's happening? Oh, by the way, I'm David Krayden. This is Stand on Guard, and I'm broadcasting live, as I always do, from the nation's capital in Ottawa. So what was that all about? I hate to take some credit, and I can't say credit, but I have to say, I think I was right. This war was wrong from the very beginning, and Donald Trump has admitted that. Donald Trump has said, hey, if I keep going this direction, if I keep alienating my base, and the fact that 60% of Americans said they don't want another war, it's going to be a disaster in the midterms. It's going to be a disaster for the guy who tries to replace me, or if I think I'm going to run again. So that's what happened in the last few days. Tucker Carlson, Clayton Morris on Redacted, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, both of them House of Representatives, in the House of Representatives, Republicans. The MAGA base said no. Oh, yes, and Steve Bannon. The MAGA base said no, this is not a good thing. This is not what you're about, Donald Trump. You're about peace. You're a president of peace. You want to end these wars, not start another one. And Donald Trump apparently concurred. So I'm claiming victory in this, because I don't know if how real the ceasefire is, because we're hearing a lot of different things about that. But I do know Donald Trump is angry about anyone who wants to continue this war. Why do you think this war started in the first place? Well, here's an interesting analysis.
Prices have skyrocketed since the conflict in the Middle East started last week. This is because 20% of the world's oil passes through the Persian Gulf. We're talking 20 million barrels per day. And so when this transportation gets disrupted, or there is a threat of it being disrupted, the price goes way up. It's almost as if you could bet on this happening. Oh wait, our US politicians did. That's right. As soon as President Trump gave Iran 60 days to make a deal, our U.S. politicians were buying oil stocks. And this is page 1 of 74. Of course, since then, Chevron is up, ExxonMobil is up, Valero is up, and so is every other oil company. These politicians are on both sides of the aisle and have also conveniently tweeted in support of this conflict. It just makes you wonder even more if everything in this world is just about making money. And who are we electing into these positions? As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
Is it all about making money, or is it all about power? I've often said it's not ideology. Ideology is a veneer for a lust for power amongst politicians. I always thought Donald Trump was above that. I think he may be. Right now, he is making a 180 turnaround on this, and this can't be easy for his pride. And of course, it's being spun by the White House like this is just an act of sheer political military genius? Well, I'm not sure it is, but I am sure it's the right thing to do. And that's all that's important right now. Let's listen to how J.D. Vance describes the situation.
Happened with Iran in the Middle East, and some breaking news coming just now. Joining us this evening, Vice President J.D. Vance. Mr. Vice President, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just seconds ago, the president went to Truth Social and typed this. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Complete and total ceasefire is what he typed.
Yep.
What does that mean? How did it come about? What's the development here?
Well, we were actually working on that just as I left the White House to come over here. So that's good news that the president was able to get that across the finish line. I think what it means, Brett, is quite simple. First of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we weren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now, Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because we destroyed it. So that's a very, very big thing. Now, what that means, I think, is we have to talk to Iran and, of course, to Israel about what the future holds. Because while we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, our hope and our expectation is that they're not going to try to rebuild that program. And I think that's what the president is really trying to figure out here, is to build a long-term settlement here to where we can have peace in the region, where our regional allies and, of course, the American people, most importantly, can be secured, but where we can ensure that the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
I want to get to the...
We don't know for sure that the strikes actually obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. Now, this is still a big question mark. We'll know in the next week, perhaps, but this turnaround was so quick. And don't tell me this was planned, because I don't think Donald Trump expected the pushback he got from the MAGA base in this. And I don't think he anticipated there was going to be such hostility. But let's listen to a little more J.D. Vance, who you might remember was a candidate who opposed all foreign wars, including support for Ukraine.
Obliterated part in just a minute, but I just want to read this fully so I get the context here. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point, the ceasefire for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the world. He seems confident.
Did you just hear that? God bless Iran. Just a couple of days ago, they were a demonic, murderous regime that had to be replaced. No more regime change. Maybe that's because Americans don't want to send the army in and get involved in a quagmire, a 10-year, 15-year war. Maybe that's got something to do with saying God bless Iran.
This is all coming together.
That's right.
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And it's, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
Would you be surprised if Iran is sending out signals that it doesn't have a specific ceasefire plan? How would the communication have been with the Iranians to get this level of confidence to put out that detailed statement?
Well, one of the things I've learned, Brett, about the Iranians in the past, 4 or 5 months that I've been in this job is what they say publicly and privately can sometimes be very different. I think what the Iranians have shown very clearly is they don't want this war to go on for much longer. Their air defenses have been totally destroyed. Their conventional missile program has been largely destroyed. And of course, their nuclear program has been obliterated, as I said before. So I think the Iranians are at a place where they don't want to keep on fighting. You
notice the demarcation of what is victory and what is defeat and what is right and what is wrong keeps changing, because yes, Donald Trump just yesterday was reiterating his desire for regime change, or actually, I guess it was Sunday. He was reiterating that, and of course, it was all about totally destroying the nuclear program. Now, that's in doubt right now, but notice how J.D. Vance sort of redefines what destroying the nuclear program really
saw
means.
The president, and I don't have the truth in front of me, but he talked about the next 6 hours, finalizing the attacks. I mean, what I think what he's talking about is right now, for the American people watching, it's dark over there. That's typically when the Israelis and the Iranians have been shooting at each other. I think there's some recognition that that might continue for another few hours, and tomorrow really is a new day. The end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program, and I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
So you said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran...
In other words, no. And I like J.D. Vance. And I wrote a column for Human Events saying, great choice, when Donald Trump selected J.D. Vance as his running mate. But there's a little bit of politics going on here, and, well, I'll elaborate in a minute.
Enrich the uranium to a weapons-grade level, and can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the two mission objectives are completely successful.
Completely successful. Well, we'll see if it's completely successful. I hope so, because, I'm not advocating for Iran having nuclear weapons. I'm advocating for not going to war over this and trying to change the regime. I'm advocating for Trump to go back to his original position as a president of peace. And you know what? He seems to have done that. And I think J.D. Vance is saying that. So we're going to be joining Katie Pasitney of the Universal Ostrich Farm, and we'll get back to the war in the Middle East, or the peace in the Middle East, in a minute. I just want to introduce this because judge refuses to allow more avian flu tests on ostriches at BC Farm. However, the good news is ostrich cull order temporarily paused at Edgewood BC Farm as owners head to court. So joining me now is my good friend Katie Pasitney, the chief spokeswoman at Universal Ostrich Farm. And I just want to try to get, sorry. Just trying to get rid of our slide here. There we go. There we go. Okay. So good morning, Katie. Thank you for joining me this morning, because like I say, this is a story close to my heart. And so when I read the other day, okay, I'll just put this up again. I see that there's essentially a stay here, and you're going to be allowed to appeal. But then I read this one about judge refuses to allow more avian flu tests on ostriches at BC Farm. So isn't this kind of contradictory? If you're going to appeal, are you not going to be allowed to provide the best evidence possible?
We are. You're absolutely right. The opportunity to still to test our animals is still not there, without the risk of 6 months in jail and a $200,000 fine. What we're fighting for, though, going to Ottawa means that our appeal, we can add a lot more information regarding the health of the ostriches now, which we were not able to bring up in the judicial review on April 15th and 16th. So that's going to be really beneficial to our fight. You know, where animal owners should be able to do secondary testing. We should be able to have veterinary treatment plans and prior to the granting of any cull decision. So we're going to be fighting for that transparency. This isn't just about policy, you know, where I found out there was a story about this water. I don't know if you've heard about the water story, water rights, and One Plus Cattle Company. Just reading it here, I wrote it down. $1 million are facing in fines, and they're facing 1 year in prison for watering their hayfield to feed their cattle during an irrigation ban. So there's, you know, they stated very clearly, it's a battle. This is from their page. It's a battle about how rural Canada is treated, the balance between environmental goals and agricultural survival, and fairness of government enforcement. And so I think we're seeing this across the board right now. The longer that this goes, we're 161 days healthy, happy ostriches that pose no risk. And they're just completely denying us that right to be able to prove to the world that we're healthy. They haven't been here in 4 months for a visit to conduct any new testing or a visit. And that if we were such a public health risk, putting so many in jeopardy, you know, that doesn't go hand in hand with this argument, So
What kind of rationale, though, did the judge offer, or could the judge offer, for not letting you do any more or any further avian testing? I mean, this seems to be a political statement and totally political in nature. Is there any rationale for this being offered to you?
Nope. You know what? I think at the end of the day, we're a recovered flock, and we have that opportunity only because we fought so hard from day one. Otherwise, we would never have known what would happen if we allowed them the chance to recover. How many more farmers are out there that have just eradicated and slaughtered all of their animals without knowing exactly if they're all sick or not? And the rationale doesn't meet any common sense. And, you know, we're seeing the erosion there's going to be real consequences with the erosion of the trust of the Canadian farmers and the Canadian people. When we allow organizations like the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to operate with insufficient accountability and complete excessive operational freedom. And they have that. So what we're trying to do is bring up their 2018 and 2021 audits. And their audits, they failed miserably in many circumstances. And we're just trying to bring some transparency back to the Canadian people, the agricultural sector, come up with a different way to allow these animals a chance to survive, as well as some of our small farmers that are all just kind of throwing in the towel because they don't want to keep culling their animals and repopulating. It's not the solution. The stamping out solution is not working. We're seeing tuberculosis threats. We're seeing anthrax and cattle threats. We're seeing Newcastles and pigeons. You tell me how good of a job the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is doing, because now they're just coming after everything. Their one-step solution is to stamp out and kill everything. They have a burning out approach, which is probably one of their best approaches that they have. The burning out approach is that you allow Mother Nature to take its course. You quarantine still, you do your due diligence. This government agency should be working with you to preserve your genetics and your biodiversity. They should be, but what you do is you let it run its course. You take care of the ones that have been infected properly. The ones that die off have the weaker immune system. The ones that survive are the ones that we should be breeding. The ones that survive are the ones that are going to pass off that immunity into their young. And we're seeing the complete and utter erosion in eradication and trust in farmers. So we see irreversible damage into our farming communities, to And so we're just going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep fighting for that testing, because you're right, it doesn't make any sense. But I think that's why we're here and we've gotten so far, is because it just doesn't make sense.
Well, what do they have to be afraid of? If a test is a test, it's a completely objective analysis. It's not like there's anything political from your side in that. So I don't get this at all. But I do think if you can win this, Katie, I think you're going to set a precedent, and you alluded to that for other farmers who are in similar predicaments. I just read the other day about another farm that had to cull a herd of birds because there was a suspected threat, and it wasn't avian flu, but it was something else. It's just as sinister. But I think, like the Freedom Convoy, that came to Ottawa and demonstrated the idiocy of COVID mandates, how these things just weren't working, and there was no scientific basis for them. I think what you're doing on this ostrich farm is demonstrating how ineffective and how irrational the government can be at times, because there's no efficacy in just slaughtering birds and at the same time saying, no, we don't want to know, by the way, if they're actually suffering from avian flu, but kill them anyway, because they might have had it in November, December last year. I just find this incredible, but I do think that just as the COVID mandates basically began to fall apart after the Freedom Convoy, even though it took the full force of the government to crush that Freedom Convoy, the real legacy there was that the government was exposed as not having any rational reason for imposing these restrictions upon Canadians. And province after province acquiesced. And you just saw a gradual withdrawal from this authoritarianism. Now, I know they'll try any opportunity to reimpose that, and I believe that what happened with avian flu, they tried very hard to use that as another national crisis, but it doesn't look like they've succeeded in that. So, are you optimistic? Like, do you know when the appeal is going to take place? And I think it's July, but do you know exactly when?
It's in July, you're right, and it's going to be in Ottawa. And we don't have those dates yet. We should probably have those dates today. It'll be towards the mid to end July. And we're preparing for that already with our lawyer. We're still putting in another request to be able to have our eggs, just some of the eggs even tested on site. We have somebody who has a machine that wants to come on site with no test results leaving the farm, to see what we can, for scientific proof that we can prove of health. We're really excited about in Ottawa, we're going to present, that we need to ensure that future audits carry weight and enforceable follow-up. These audits that they failed miserably just show that like I said, they run an operational freedom. They don't have any accountability. We're hearing, and this is just what we're hearing, but that the World Animal Health Association is not very pleased with the operation of Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So I think if we can start to show internally that create some question, we might get some real serious results. But Ottawa, I think, is going to be a very good thing, I think, for all of us across Canada. And we need to protect our farms. I just, I'm in tears every day. I smile, I have tears. We get calls from farmers that are scared. We are seeing that breakdown, the erosion of trust within just not our small farmers, but our large farmers and the agricultural industry and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Our small farmers deserve just a big of a seat at the table. If not, we all deserve our own table. And associations, small farmers, our ag industry should have our own organization, our own setup. And we shouldn't be solely relying on an organization like Canadian Food Inspection Agency to be calling all the shots on everything that we've put our heart and soul into for decades. So remember, too, we're running off the 2 controversial PCR tests from December. There's been no testing. There's been no blood. There's been no tissue samples. There's been no soil samples, no water samples. We don't know if this was Pseudomonas bacteria, which we had back in 2020. So we don't know. We don't know that this was H5N1. Before the ink was dry off the printer, they signed our call order. So it was like they came in with results that they already had written. They don't want our research here. We're a big threat to big pharma because we are a natural solution in not needing to be solely reliant on vaccinations and medications if we all had a stronger immunity. And we just need to take it back to simple. And natural immunity is a beautiful thing. We recover, but we don't kill the survivors.
Well, precisely. As you know, I've reached out to my friend Natalie Morris at Redacted, and she should be contacting you this week for an interview,
That would be
because I
wonderful.
think we need to continue to expose what's going on here. Are you still getting large numbers of supporters, activists, and media at the farm to observe?
Yeah, we have people stopping in every day. We've had it's kind of ever since when we got the stay order, it was a beautiful thing to see a lot of the people who have dedicated so much hard time here we had a couple of them that went to church in the morning on Sunday, and they just were so like, we can go to church. We can, we can resume our life and just know that these ostriches and animals are safe. We are getting the support, international support. I know RFK is watching this every day with John Catsimatidis out of New York. I'm actually going to be speaking at the Truth Movement in Florida. And that is a very, very great opportunity with Jamie Shearer and Todd Callender, John Davidson, and a lineup of other doctors to bring awareness to the stamping out problem on a global scale. So the momentum is there. We just need to continue the awareness. All said and done, we're going to be looking at about $500,000 by the time this is done in legal fees. And I know that it's really hard for some people to understand that, but we wouldn't be able to be here without everybody's support. So I hate asking for, but if anybody has the ability to donate or believes in what we're fighting for and can help us continue on the journey, please go to saveourostriches.com and make a donation to help us get through to the end. We are handcuffed. I mean, since December, they've handcuffed us to the farm in the aspect of no sales, no nothing. We are on complete lockdown of financial event of how to survive, as well as pay our legal bills. So this plight is for everybody and every farm across Canada, and we deserve the opportunity that we're fighting for here.
Yes, you do. And you're fighting not just for farmers, who I support wholeheartedly, but for all Canadians who don't want the government putting its hand in your pocket and their foot on your front yard, which is all this is about for me. And I just find it absolutely abhorrent. And the fact that these beautiful birds, I think, have a right to live without being completely overtaken by law.
Bureaucratic mismanagement, David. Like it's at its highest level. No transparency, lack of communication, fatal errors in their policy, and they go unchecked. And that's what we're trying to bring forth, is that no organization should go unchecked. I know if I allowed my kids to run rampant without, having any accountability, I don't even know where they'd be today, but they're 3 successful men now who careers because they were given bumpers and boundaries and were told how they can operate, and with guidance and that's all that we're fighting for, is for that trust to be put back into the agricultural industry. And we're going to keep them the heroes that they are, because like I said before, it was our truckers were heroes and they were put on a pedestal, and the frontline workers were on a pedestal. And then they were villainized because they never took the COVID-19 vaccinations, and they lost their jobs. They lost their livelihoods. And now the farming industry is under attack, and we need to keep them the heroes without allowing them to be villainized. And we can do it together with platforms like yours. And I appreciate you so much, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, to continue to fight for what's right and justice. And I believe in the voice of the people. I really do.
Well, I do too. And thank you for your voice today, Katie. And anytime we can have you on the show, you're always welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to your audience. Thank you, everybody, for joining our cause and sticking with us this long, because it's almost been 6 months. So remember, 161 days today, healthy animals. That has to hold some weight. So
It sure should. Thanks again, Katie, and we'll talk again soon.
have a great morning.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Katie Pasitney of the Universal Ostrich Farm. That is a lesson in freedom. Now let's get back to what's going on with the war in Iran, because this is interesting. Marjorie Taylor Greene talked to Matt Gaetz last night, and I think she put it quite succinctly. Let's have a listen.
Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congresswoman, you are the torch carrier for the America First foreign policy on Capitol Hill. Tell us what you're seeing and what you're hearing with the president's recent reaction to the Iranian strikes in Qatar.
Well, you know, Washington, D.C. always wants war as usual, Matt. That's nothing has changed since you left here. But here's the reality. The American people are so sick and tired of foreign wars and regime change. However, I do think President Trump is handling this very well. And I think he has clearly indicated and spoken about this, that he does not want this to be another forever foreign war, one that Congress is having to vote to fund like we have been with Ukraine. And he definitely doesn't want to see boots on the ground. And that I am very thankful for, Matt. That's not what we campaigned on. You know, I campaigned on the exact same agenda as President Trump. That's the MAGA agenda, the America First agenda. That's what we promised. And that is exactly what we need to make sure we deliver.
Has the Congress had any scheduled briefings on this operation and the level of success?
We're supposed to have a briefing tomorrow, so hopefully we find out more. I'm definitely looking forward to that briefing and asking questions. I think it's incredibly important. But I've been hearing most of the people I've been talking to are regular people. Thankfully, that's who my friends and family are, is regular Americans. And regular Americans care about the price of gasoline. They care about the fact that my children, who are 22, 25, and 27, can't afford to buy houses. Inflation is crushing them. They can't afford insurance. And, you know, the future actually looks pretty bleak instead of hopeful for many young Americans. And that's what makes me so extremely angry. And I think Washington, D.C., all of us need to get focused very hard on making sure that we pass the agenda to help these younger generations in the future. And another thing that's very important to recognize, Matt, is last week, no one was worrying about an attack, a terrorist attack on our homeland. That was the furthest thing from their minds. They were thinking about vacations they had planned, concerts they're going to, and just all kinds of summer fun. And that's what Americans should be thinking about. They should not be worrying about a potential terrorist attack, or is this going to be World War III, and what kind of retaliation will be taken against America?
That retaliation looks a lot now like it looked after the killing of Soleimani, which didn't result in attacks on our homeland. It didn't result in the type of regime change war that some said would cascade. And it seems as though in that case, President Trump was able to executively produce an opportunity for Iran to save face, for no Americans to be harmed. Are you looking at what you're seeing now with this sort of lackluster response in Qatar being similar to what we saw coordinated after the death of Soleimani?
Yeah, I think you called that just perfectly. It was clear this was a saving face attack. They definitely let the United States know ahead of time. It gave our American military, our great men and women, time to prepare or evacuate the base. That's clearly what it does look like, and I hope that's what this is. This needs to be over with. We've got to get back to work on our campaign promises. We've got to pass the tax law. We've got to make sure that passes. These trade deals that are so important need to be wrapped up and finished, because a lot of businesses need to be able to have great futures, and trade deals are depending on that for them. We need the housing industry to boom. We need the construction industry to boom. We need manufacturing to boom. And that's what makes Americans rich. And that's what matters to Americans. So, you know, I'm unapologetically America first. I am not going to say I'm sorry for fighting for our country and our people and the great people in Northwest Georgia and Georgia's 14th district. And no matter what kind of pressure and dirty headlines come out against me, there's no breakup between MTG and DJT. We are definitely aligned as usual and will always work for America first.
In getting to this core of what is America first, because I think it's one of the important lessons to emerge out of this. Like when I see Mike Pence and Bill Kristol and John Bolton cheering on the decisions of the administration, I think to my
Just got to break in here and say, do you not find this absolutely incredible? Just a couple of days ago, John Bolton, the high priest of the neocon movement, was praising Donald Trump for finally seeing the light that we need to start another war. It's like literally in 24 hours just moved around. I believe this is the evidence that the people still matter to Donald Trump. And that Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she's been a principled conservative, farthest thing from a rhino in the House of Representatives.
like, we didn't go win these elections so that John Bolton could get his foreign policy. How do you think about some of the reactions you've seen from the people who've been so anti-Trump when you've had President Trump's back 100% with no break in vision?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when you have Liz Cheney and Meghan McCain and John Bolton cheering you on, that's not a good thing. And this very well. And
out of this, like when I see,
love to watch bombs drop, and they love to think about regime change more than anyone. But this very well. And
Sorry,
I think about regime change more than anyone. But you know, Matt, what
I gotta say, if you saw the clip at the very, very beginning, this is very, very current of President Trump coming out against warmongering in the world, and the entire I'm gonna play the entire clip at the end of the show. Stay around for this because it's absolutely phenomenal what he says here, because this is something we would not have expected him to say just 48 hours ago.
funny is it's unfortunate. This is my parents' generation, the baby boomers. They've been brainwashed by propaganda on Fox News, and then Democrat baby boomers have been brainwashed by propaganda on CNN. And it's unfortunate that baby boomers truly believe and think that this is all a good thing, where it's like, you know, I'm Generation X, my generation, your generation, and my kids' generation is 100% against this. And we look at this totally different. We're like, we have $37 trillion in debt.
Yes.
And we're really sick of the nonstop neocon news networks telling us what we're supposed to care about. And we're, you know, it's gotten to a point where it's really disgusting.
What elements of the bill are you paying close attention?
All right. They're talking here about the big, beautiful bill that was passed by the House of Representatives. The Senate is amending right now. And Marjorie Taylor Greene explains why she wants it changed or she will not support this bill. And it's all about AI.
To, and that you want the American people focused on for their delivery to President Trump.
Yeah, thank you for that, Matt. I love so many things in the bill. I think it's great. It passes the tax agenda, energy, and the border security. I agree with President Trump. We need to take out the Green New Deal parts of the bill. But the one I'm paying attention to is the AI moratorium that would take away state rights for 10 years to make regulations and laws on AI. And I am so against that. And if the Senate does not take it out, people need to understand I get to vote on this again. My voting card, I get to use it on the big, beautiful bill. And when they send it back, if they still have that in there, that is a poison pill. I won't be able to vote for it. I absolutely will not vote for this bill and I love the bill, but I am not going to vote for an AI moratorium that destroys federalism for 10 years.
Well, no, tell me why you think it's important to have states regulating AI.
Because humanity is in danger. AI is projected to replace so many people's jobs. And we saw people's jobs wiped out for the past 40 years when manufacturing went overseas. And all the small towns in my district, Matt, they are like graveyards with manufacturing that left years ago. And if AI comes in unregulated, totally unregulated, without laws to protect people's jobs, we are going to see poverty and unemployment and homelessness like we have never seen in our lifetime. And Matt, there will be no jobs for these people to go get.
Couldn't make it clearer than that. So there's a poison pill in this big, beautiful bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to extract and get rid of. Talking about poison pills, and believe me, I think she's dead on. Unregulated AI, we're all going to lose our jobs. And what? Go on welfare? It's insanity. But so is Mark Carney going to Europe and pledging that Canada will join the European Union Defense Force and will fund the Rearm Europe program. This is nuts.
As you just said, in hard times, we might say even a hinge moment of history, a world that's more dangerous and divided, a time where the rules-based international, the global order, rules-based global order is under threat, in a time when technological change is accelerating. And we really have two choices as a jurisdiction, as a country in this circumstance. We can nostalgically look back and long for the old order to somehow return, or we can build a new one with purpose and partnership. And as the most...
Wasn't there a European in the 1930s who talked about a new world order? How did that go? I get very worried when I hear Mark Carney talking about Europe producing a new world order with Canadian money backing it. I don't want anything to do with the European Union. It's a stupid, useless, redundant organization. It's bad enough we're still a member of NATO, which is really serving no purpose anymore except to inflame the situation with Russia. So why do we want to join another defense force from Europe? Because that's what NATO was all about. It was formed to defend Western Europe from Soviet expansionism in Eastern Europe. That's what NATO was all about. And some people like to say it's still the same, but no, it's not. And NATO has expanded way beyond any recognition to the point where it's become dangerous. There's too many members. But now Mark Carney wants us to join the EU Defense Force. Nuts.
European, of the non-European countries, Canada looks first to the European Union to build a better world. And that's what today is about. It's about building on our triple alignment of values, of interests, and of trust built over the years. And so today, this is a new era of cooperation. Our strategic Canada-EU or EU-Canada strategic partnership for the future will build a new and deeper relationship that brings us closer together, from defense to digital, from supply chains to security. We're launching comprehensive negotiations across multiple areas of cooperation, connection, trade, security, digital, climate. And this will make us both more resilient and more prosperous. In many respects, what we're committing to, from our perspective, Canada's perspective, is an ongoing process to an ever closer partnership that will bring our people closer together. We also, in this more dangerous and divided world, must be prepared to defend our people and our values, to secure our sovereignty and protect our allies. And to these ends, we will be in The Hague tomorrow with new commitments, significant commitments to our own and our mutual defense, meeting our NATO targets, further accelerating investments in coming years, but doing so, the EU and Canada, with this new security and defense partnership, which provides for this increased cooperation across the full spectrum of security. It will help us deliver on our new requirements for capabilities more rapidly and more effectively. will help build our industries, secure our jurisdictions. So we are very pleased to be taking this important step towards participation in SAFE as part of Rearm Readiness Europe, bringing shared expertise, joint research and innovation.
The guy doesn't even know what he's trying to say. One of the worst public speakers in politics today. But he can't even articulate what his vision is, what his objective is. Join another defense organization because we just love the Europeans. Well, you know what? I don't love the Europeans when they start wars. I don't love the Europeans when they increasingly are the aggressors. But you've waited till the end. Thank you for doing that. This is an incredible little bit of commentary from President Donald Trump. Like I said last week, he wanted a regime change in Iraq. He wanted to bomb the hell out of Iran back to the Stone Age. And now he's saying, what the hell is going on with these people? Don't they understand we need to have a ceasefire? And watch, he drops the F-bomb here.
The region suggests that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
Incredible. Here's the best.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond to Iran?
Incredible. Donald Trump is back. The Donald Trump I wrote over 100 columns supporting. The Donald Trump that I supported in the last presidential election, in the 2016, in the 2020 election. I hope Donald Trump is back. It sounds like he is. It sounds like he's got the balls and the moxie to speak truth again and not be in somebody's pocket and be afraid to speak his mind. So good for him for saying that. Stand on guard. I love it. And think while it's still legal, have a look at our store. I'm not going to play it right now because we're almost 50 minutes into the broadcast. But I'm in nobody's pocket. No politician's pocket, no party's pocket, because I'm here to give you the unvarnished truth as best as I can. Of course, I have my biases. You know what they are. That doesn't mean I'm going to shut people up because I disagree with them. That's censorship. And I'm here to fight censorship. I'm here to stand up for free speech. That's what this program is all about. Thank you so much for watching today. And I'll be back again tomorrow with more of the news you need to know. Keep on fighting. This has been David Krayden broadcasting live from Ottawa. God bless this country. Godspeed to all of you.